Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going hunting for flying types in the Open Great League, featuring a newly updated Pokemon, Brutal Swing Shadow Tyranitar. Previously, Tyranitar did run the charge moves of Crunch and Stone Edge, but Brutal Swing is a nice upgrade. Brutal Swing is a cheaper charge move than Crunch, and when you're running Smackdown as your fast move, cheap charge moves is the name of the game. This is definitely not a team I'd recommend for climbing, but I was able to go quite positive with it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and go hunting for flying types with Shadow Tyranitar. Hopping into the first match, picking up a pretty decent lead, Sableye into Shadow Quagsire. Opponent safe switches into Noctowl, and it is Shadow Tyranitar time. Noctowl over farming quite a bit, so I'm just gonna go for the Brutal Swing. I win CMP over the Noctowl. Brutal Swing is gonna get the KO. Back in comes the Shadow Quagsire, but here's the thing, I'm able to make it to a Brutal Swing. This is going to hit very hard on the Shadow Quagsire. Quagsire forced to commit the shield. Due to the speed of Brutal Swing, I would have made it to another charge move, so my opponent is forced to fire off a Mud Bomb to get the KO. Now I send in Sableye. I can tank whatever they throw here. Opponent is going to fire off the Mud Bomb from Quagsire. In the back, they have a Powder Snow Shadow Alolan Ninetales, so they were able to bait out my Smackdown user, but Dugong does extremely well versus the Ninetales. They go straight for the Dazzling Gleam. I commit the shield, and now 2 Drill Runs will very comfortably KO. First Drill Run is going to connect. Farming up with the Dugong, going for another Drill Run. I didn't want to risk a no shield on an Icy Wind. Drill Run will get the KO. Opponent sends back in the Quagsire. I'm farming up. I make it to the Icy Wind, but I lose CMP. This is a very safe shield for me though, because I can guarantee the final shield from my opponent with the Icy Wind, and then I should be very close to a foul play on the Sableye. In comes the Sableye. We get the foul play. This is going to be taking care of the Shadow Quagsire, and that is a good game. Picking up the Dream lead in the next match, Sableye into Defense Deoxys. Opponent will need to immediately safe switch out of here, and they do, into a Shadow Wall Rain. I'm going to stay in and go for the foul play, hoping my opponent is going to commit the shield. Opponent does. Now it's Shadow Tyranitar time. Look at the Smackdowns go. Oh my goodness, they do have enough for the Earthquake. I will commit the shield. My opponent tries to make it to the Quake, but they're not going to be able to do so. In comes Defense Deoxys, and this Brutal Swing is going to hurt. Brutal Swing, massive damage onto the Deoxys, and Tyranitar almost KOs the Deoxys by itself. Sableye will be hit with the charge move here. Opponent going for the resistant Psycho Boost, and now their final Pokemon is revealed to be Umbreon. So I am a little sad that I no longer have my Tyranitar, as Tyranitar does fully wall Umbreon, but the good news is I still have Dugong. Dugong is without question the best move update in Season 15, as it's turned it just into an instant top meta Pokemon. Dugong's ability to not only debuff in its worst matchups, but also have coverage for Steel types and Electric types with Drill Run, it's just an absolute force to be reckoned with. Umbreon going for foul play after foul play, but now that I've gotten the debuff, and due to Dugong's natural bulk, Dugong is in a very comfortable position here. I'm now going to go for the Drill Run, as Drill Run does do more damage here. Drill Run is going to connect, and from here, my opponent recognizes that it's over, and they concede the match. Speaking of Dugong, we see it on the lead in the next match. I'm going to stay in with Sableye to start. I want to get some chip damage or a shield advantage before I try and make an Icy Wind catch onto my Dugong. Foul play is going to get shielded. I throw one more, switch, and get the Icy Wind catch onto my Dugong. That's massive. That does absolutely no damage, and I've successfully baited out the Medicham. This team, since I am double weak to counter, is reliant on safe switching into Dugong to check and see if the opponent has a counter user in the back, because Tyranitar, with its double weakness to counter, would get absolutely shredded by Medicham. Medicham goes for the Psychic. Dugong able to hang on and make another Icy Wind. This is going to be getting that Medicham low. Unfortunately, I was debuffed before that matchup, so I don't do quite as much damage as I typically would. The nice thing is they're double debuffed here. Their Ice Punches will just hit for absolutely no damage whatsoever, and I get a massive farm with my Sableye. Back in comes the Dugong. I'm going for the double foul play here. This won't KO, but it will get it into a range where I can hopefully snipe with a Smackdown from Shadow Tyranitar. This is going to get them low. I'm sending in Tyranitar. In the back, they have Sableye. Opponent ABA weak to Tyranitar. I have 2 shields. There's no point in even throwing a charge move. Tyranitar smacks down the Sableye and the Dugong, and that's game over. Picking up a fairly neutral lead in the next match, Sableye into Shadow Gliscor. I will need to save switch out of this matchup eventually. Opponent going straight for the Night Slash, not even building up to the Earthquake. I will no shield here, go straight for the foul play. This will deal a lot of damage or grab an early shield, and then it's Dugong time. In comes Dugong. Opponent is going to send in Medicham. Medicham ever present in this new season, so if you're running ABB weak to it, you've got to make sure you can bait it out. Icy Wind is going to connect. Opponent can go for the Psychic, but as we've seen, Dugong can tank the Psychic and make another charge move here. Dugong farming up, able to make the last second Drill Run. Drill Run will do more damage than an Icy Wind. Drill Run is going to connect. Opponent here stops attacking to actually limit the farm that my Sableye gets. It's a pretty nice play by my opponent. They're now going to go for the Ice Punch. Ice Punch is not going to do a lot of damage. They can send back in the Gliscor, but in comes Shadow Tyranitar. Tyranitar farming up. It's a Spark Lanturn in the back. I'm going straight for the Brutal Swing here. Brutal Swing will deal some solid damage. Lanturn commits the shield. Lanturn massively over farming. They are very close to back-to-back surfs here. We will see a shield from the Shadow Tyranitar. Tyranitar will be outpaced by the Lanturn, but I have 2 shields. I may as well use them here. Surf will be shielded. Now I can go for the Brutal Swing. This will come very close to KOing here. Brutal Swing leaves the Lanturn low. Smackdown KOs. In comes the Gliscor, and Gliscor needs the Earthquake to KO here. They will go for the Earthquake. It's going to be a race. Can Sableye get the farm down? It cannot. Gliscor with 1 HP hangs on, makes the Night Slash, and that's game over. We see the Flyer on the lead in the next match, Sableye into Pelipper. I have 2 better responses to Flyers in the back, so I'm going to farm up with Sableye and look for the catch. Farm up, switch into the Dugong, and my opponent is not able to react in time, and the Pelipper's Weather Ball is caught onto the Dugong. Opponent now going to send in a Sableye here. Sableye going for the foul play right away, trying for the CMP tie, but all that does is just give Dugong an Ice Shard for free. I'm going to fire off the Icy Wind. I will have to throw my next charge move on alignment if I want to outpace the Sableye and force a shield. So I will intentionally throw on alignment there. The reason being is this allows me to outpace the Sableye by 2 turns, and I'm able to grab a shield. They're forced to fire off a charge move here, as I would have made it to another Icy Wind. That's perfectly fine by me. They have energy, but they're double debuffed, so I can just send in my Sableye. I don't have to shield a thing. I can very comfortably farm all the way down and leave with so much energy to threaten whatever they decide to send in. Opponent is going to send in the Pelipper. No baits here. Going straight for the return. Return. Rocks the Pelipper. We got the Shadow Claw farm down. In the back, they have Registeel. Not what Shadow Tyranitar is hoping to see. But you know what? We have 2 shields. Let's have a little fun here. I'm firing off the foul play. Opponent is going to go for the charge move just before I make it to foul play number 2. And you know what? Let's teach this Registeel a lesson. In comes the Shadow Smackdown Tyranitar. I could just make it to the double Brutal Swing and win, but I think I can do something a little bit more funny. I'm going to try and go for the incredibly aggressive full Smackdown play. Tyranitar looking for the Smackdown. I will have to use both my shields here, and I'm going for the farm down. Tyranitar smacks down the Registeel, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading into yet another Flyer, Altaria into Sableye. I'm going to farm up some energy here, and then, once I bank a foul play, save switch into Dugong. My opponent is going to respond with Registeel. Not the most comfortable matchup for Dugong, but I did need to bait it out so the Tyranitar doesn't face it later on. I go for the Icy Wind. Icy Wind, of course, is going to be resisted, but I do want to grab an early debuff, so that way I can very comfortably tank any one charge move. My opponent is now not going to be able to farm me down, so they will be forced to go for another charge move here. I fire off the Drill Run. Dugong is going to get outpaced by the Registeel, and I'm just going to play out the Zero Shield here. I was able to bait out the Tyranitar. I can now look to overfarm with the Sableye, go for the foul play, but my opponent is going to catch. They catch the foul play. onto Altaria. I send in the Shadow Tyranitar. They're firing off a charge move. This is not enough for the Moonblast. It is only going to be the Sky Attack, and Tyranitar will get the full farm down. I leave with the Brutal Swing to threaten the Reggie. In comes the Reggie, and I'm firing off the Brutal Swing here. Brutal Swing is going to KO. In the back, they have a Swampert, and unfortunately, this game is over, as I have taken enough damage here where a Hydro Cannon will just about KO. So, I may as well just no shield. They can Mud Shot down from here, and I resign the match. We've got a massive core breaker on the lead in the next match. Sableye into Dedenne. Dedenne can hit my entire team for super effective damage, so not what I was hoping to see whatsoever. I'm basically just going to be double shielding the Sableye and doing my best to get rid of the Dedenne, if at all possible. I'm building up to the return. I'm baiting with the foul play. Unfortunately, I got baited with a discharge from the Dedenne. Farming up, going for the foul play, and my opponent is going to win CMP. The nice thing about facing Dedenne is even if you're triple weak to it, it's extremely frail. As you can see, the Shadow Claws already have it below half health. I'm able to get them low. In comes a Talonflame. Shadow Tyranitar looking for the farm down. They will make the last second charge move here. Brave Bird gets the Tyranitar low, but Tyranitar does leave with energy to threaten whatever my opponent decides to send in. They send in Trevenant, and again, the quicker charge move of Brutal Swing coming in handy as I'm able to force an early shield. My opponent gets the farm down, but now I should be in a pretty decent spot here. Dugong farming up. Thanks to Trevenant actually being more expensive now with their Seed Bomb, I should be able to outpace here. I go for the Icy Wind, beautiful catch by my opponent, but I'm just going to Zero Bubble here. I'm going to Zero Bubble, send in the Sableye, farm down. They're 2 off the Shadow Ball, and I'm 1 off the foul play. So Sableye will be able to finish the fight, KO the Trevenant, and that's game over. We've got a slightly favorable lead in the next match, Sableye into Toxapex. Opponent is going to be safe switching into their own Sableye, and it is Shadow Tyranitar time. Shadow Tyranitar farming up, going for the Brutal Swing here, as my opponent has overfarmed massively. Brutal Swing will get the shield. My opponent firing off a charge move here. I'm going to no shield. I'm just going to let this through. They full send the return. Tyranitar just cannot get the farm down. Sableye leaves with 1 HP and a charge move, and honestly, that's probably the worst case scenario for me here. Foul play is going to connect. My opponent is going to send in the Toxapex. Toxapex not going to appreciate the Drill Run. Toxapex is extremely tanky, but this is still super effective damage. Drill Run is going to connect. Throw one more Ice Shard, switch into the Sableye. In the back, it is Chestnut. I have the shield advantage. I'm full sending the return here, hoping my opponent is going to call the bait. Return gets shielded, and suddenly, I wish that I had baited, as Chestnut is going to be able to get both of my shields here. I am going to have to shield everything, as Frenzy Plant would easily do more to a Sableye than the Toxapex going for the Brine. They go for Frenzy Plant number 2. I commit the shield. I'm just going straight for the return. I need to get rid of the Chestnut. Return is going to KO. Back in comes the Toxapex. Toxapex firing off the Brine. Brine not going to KO here, but it will get me low. I'm going to farm up to the foul play, send in the Dugong, and hopefully I can tank the Sludge Wave and make the Drill Run. Sludge Wave connects. I do not get the move. Foul play will not KO. I cannot make the return. Hopping into the final match, picking up a bit of a tricky lead, Sableye into Vigoroth. Vigoroth honestly has pretty decent play into this entire team. The counters are single resisted here, but the counters plus the Bulldoze absolutely add up onto the Sableye. I'm firing off the foul play here. I need 2 moves to KO anyway, so I may as well go for the cheaper foul play. My opponent does have enough for the Bulldoze. I respect it with a shield, and it is the Bulldoze. They save switch into Noctowl, and it is Shadow Tyranitar time. Shadow Tyranitar absolutely tearing through the Noctowl here. Noctowl goes for the Sky Attack. Tyranitar able to tank that, farming up. Unfortunately, I miscount. My opponent makes another Sky Attack, and I will be forced to burn a shield. I'm down 2 shields, but I leave with a lot of energy. Whatever comes in, I'm just going for the Brutal Swing as soon as I get there. If it's the Vigoroth, the counter will honestly come close to KOing. I'm going for the Brutal Swing here. Brutal Swing will KO the Vigoroth. In the back, it's a Spark Lantern, and I'm going to fire off another Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing will be shielded. Immediate switch into the Dugong. Dugong will be hit with a Thunderbolt, but Thunderbolt is not going to KO. And again, having Drill Run in this matchup is so clutch, as that will hit for super effective damage. But I'm counting on my opponent knowing that, so I'm actually going to go for the Icy Wind bait here. And I get the shield from my opponent. I'm able to make it to the drill run. This drill run will hit for super effective damage onto the Lanturn. Lanturn in a very difficult situation. They cannot farm down. They're forced to fire off a charge move here. Surf is going to KO the Dugong. I'm going to send in the Tyranitar. The threat of a smackdown will force them to throw their energy. And at this point, the Sableye is just too healthy. My opponent goes for the Thunderbolt, understanding that it's over, and they concede the match. All in all, Brutal Swing is a nice addition to Tyranitar's moveset. I believe that a level 50 Shadow Tyranitar with Brutal Swing is now the best Dark-type raid attacker in the game, and from a PvP aspect, you not only get a cheaper move, which is nice considering both Smackdown and Bite don't have the greatest energy generation, and on top of that, it has better damage per energy than Crunch as well. Tyranitar still definitely a spice pick, not a pick for climbing, but a solid upgrade for the Mon. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.